The Indiana Pacers have forced a Game 7 for all the marbles by completely dismantling one of the best offenses in the NBA this year. The question is, was it the defensive pressure that harassed them into mistakes left and right? Or is there something fundamentally wrong with the offense as it's been put together by the coaching staff? Just so we're clear, this Thunder team does not pass the ball much. They ranked 25th in passes per game, but did rank 12th in assists and assist points created in the regular season. But in the finals, these numbers have plummeted, and as a result, so has their offensive rating. It got so bad in this game that it made me feel like something was up, like Game 7 was inevitable, you know? One big difference defensively by the Pacers, they just stopped their full court press. Carlisle is out here playing all sorts of mental games, so having harassed and exhausted the Thunder for 5 games, they would show it before the ball was inbounded, but then drop right back, and perhaps the Thunder were shell-shocked and suffering from PTSD. One issue is that they don't have a true point guard out there running the show, so Chet brings it up and makes the poor decision to try and attack Siakam off the dribble. So chalk one up for defensive pressure before Chet realizes we got to go in a different direction. The offense then flows into what should be a handoff with a double pin down for SGA sprinting full speed out of the corner. Great idea, until Williams breaks off his screen and becomes one of 2 players coming up for the handoff. To make matters worse, the ball screen gets set to his left, where there are 2 players standing along with their defenders in his way. So Hartenstein flips the screen in a direction where there is more space. That's good, but you can't convince me that this contact by Nesmith to Hartenstein's back would cause him to double over and onto one knee. This aimless cut by SGA across the lane at 20% speed brings his man into the restricted area, so here's what Williams sees coming around the corner with a mismatch. No wonder he just gives up and tries a contested step back off a possession that saw merely 2 passes the whole time. It's not like making a lot of passes and cuts is a requirement for effective offense, but when you're locked in a 7-game series where coaches have plenty of time to make adjustments with weak side defensive rotations and matchups, you're just making it harder on yourself if there isn't some sort of movement with a purpose happening. We've got 2 things going on. Chet is being guarded by Halliburton, so he of course wants to command low post position and abuse him, but you've also got Hartenstein trying to set a screen in this circle, which Gilgeous-Alexander rejects to go to his preferred left. Nembhard has been doing a great job all series cutting him off in this direction. And because Dort is so slow getting to the corner, Nesmith can hang out and not only dissuade a drive, but a pass down low as well. So now we're left with a drive to the right with both bigs on the lane line. We can't say SGA doesn't have a bag. He's equipped with a myriad of hezzies in this situation, which is why he's so hard to guard. But the overall possession saw 1 player dribble 11 times, not 1 pass, terrible spacing from the others, and they've got a defender who's great at showing his chest and using his hands as he cold rips the dribble into a turnover. OKC uncorks an old-school offensive set that requires the ball handler to turn his back and wait in place until it develops, with Chet coming off the pin down in the mid-post. Indiana gives Nesmith a chance to get around, with Hallie offering some support and then Turner full switching when they realize Nesmith can't get there. This was the beginning of Chet's very real struggle in this game. By picking up his dribble, he negates the advantage he had right on the catch, but now they've got the one matchup they don't want. J-Dub trying to go at Siakam, who's too strong and wingspan too long, as he burps up a terrible shot at the shot clock buzzer. But understand that the extent of the OKC half-court offense is maybe 1 pass, if they're lucky, into a high pick and roll. If there's one thing we've learned from the modern game, is that the pick and roll works a lot better when you get some side-to-side movement beforehand. Instead, look how easy it is for the whole defense to shift into place and contain until Siakam gets back in front. And Chet just has to be better. Notice how he lifts both feet in the air before he catches the ball. This is how he should be hopping into his 3-point shots, but instead, he turns this into a shot fake and drive. And this Caruso cut brings Nesmith into the lane to offer support, and Chet can't beat Turner, so he's left to try and pivot around like a top before committing an embarrassing travel violation. The whole point of half-court offense is to gain an advantage on the defense. Yet, setting a high pick and roll without any movement first just lets the defense switch this. Now, this was promising as we were going to get a handoff with a player sprinting into the catch. Shepard denies this pass well, and Wiggins strangely stops his cut. Hartenstein decides to cut to give SGA more space to operate, but once this play reverses, he's now in the way of what could have been a nice fake handoff by Wallace. SGA, meanwhile, has just been standing out top watching the whole time, basically making it a 4-on-4. And as the shot clock winds down, with him still standing there, TJ can make this catch very difficult. Great help from Nembhard, who always knows where SGA is, along with McConnell's pursuit, which makes this jumper a little rushed and off balance. The critics of SGA had predicted that the plays that worked so well for him in the regular season wouldn't be there in the playoffs, and they made a good point, as they don't get any action before the high pick and roll, presumably to attack Mathurin, who does an excellent job to show his chest to SGA. Nembhard doubles, assuming he won't pass it in order to draw the foul, which correctly never comes, and leaves him with a terrible shot over a double team. This game already started slipping away at this point, which made it imperative that OKC run some good offense into a great shot. Instead, SGA waves away the only action they were going to run in favor of a terrible quick pull over a good contest, which leads directly to yet another run out from the Pacers, who draw free throws when Wallace is no match for Siakam in the open court. The next play got worse. There is no reason to set a screen with Siakam's man to force a switch, and even less reason for SGA to attack him in isolation. Another quick pull designed to draw a foul isn't called because Siakam is too good. He doesn't get his hand stuck in the cookie jar like many other undisciplined defenders, and this is the worst turnover we've seen yet. Every once in a while, OKC will run a called set like this one where SGA sets a back screen and they get a nice layup out of it. But it looks like there's some confusion first, with Kendrick Williams having to point out the very thing that's supposed to be a secret. And it still would have worked, but SGA sets an obvious illegal screen for yet another turnover. Can you hear me shaking my head? Remember, offense is designed to get you an advantage on the defender. But when you just run a high pick and roll once it crosses half court without any movement or action beforehand, it means the defense is in its best position to defend this action. Plus, they move Hartenstein to the dunker spot in the direction the screen is being set, with Wallace in the corner, not the wing, which also means the defense can help off with such poor spacing and negate everything. Nesmith's pressure on the ball, notice how much physicality they allow from the Pacers, causes Williams to flip it back the other way, but he just loses the ball as Nesmith does not get detached. When a team isn't used to this kind of defensive pressure, the little things like setting screens can fall by the wayside. This horn set is supposed to have Chet set a cross screen to get an easy catch for SGA near the three-point line. But watch how Nembhard knows the play and gets on the high side. This needs to be a backdoor cut for a layup. Instead, SGA insists on getting the ball near the half-court line. Making matters worse, Chet is standing there in his way. He was probably hoping to set a second ball screen, which is impossible on a defender who is behind the ball handler. So Chet is almost acting like an additional defender. He does finally get out of there and find some space, but remember how he caught the ball earlier? On this one, he ends up hopping after the catch, which would technically be a travel, but more importantly, serves to delay the release time significantly, enabling the contest to get there and help throw the shot off by a couple of inches. More horrid offense made worse because there's confusion. They finally figured out they want to target TJ McConnell in the pick and roll, but SGA gets antsy and decides to attack on his own. Nembhard continues to stay in front very well, and they know SGA isn't a great passer, and they get more and more emboldened to send double teams at him and get another embarrassing turnover. With a mere 33 points after 18 minutes, unclear why they turn to Wiggins in the only play their offense has, as he practically throws away an uncontested pass back out top. Chet continues to display he wasn't up for it, as he literally dribbles it off his own thigh, recovers it, but tosses up this weak sauce of a layup attempt that isn't even close. The one thing this offense doesn't do enough of is utilize Isaiah Hartenstein. He's a great short roller and shows why as he quickly gets into the lane and throws the perfect lob, but Chet needs to go to the bench if he's doing stuff like this. And yet, he was still in the game when they finally tried to attack Haliburton, who should be a target whether he's got a calf injury or not. But the real play is SGA flare screening for Chet, as he tells J-Dub to make that pass, but the screen was ineffective. And now let's look at Chet again catching it first and then lifting his feet into the hop. He bends his knees way too much after the right foot plants, and it's so slow that Turner can block his jumper for the third time in the series. Coach Daigneault needs to recognize when Chet is in one of his funks and find someone else who can contribute better. It all culminated in this play, where I wanted to turn off the TV and stop watching even though it gave us the singular play of the entire finals, as Haliburton tracks down the loose ball and uncorks one of the prettiest lead passes we're going to see, and Siakam finishes over Williams in ruthless fashion. But let's not lose sight of why this happened. OKC had a 5-on-4 advantage, and rather than push the ball up to maintain it, they just jog down to their positions with the worst spacing imaginable as 3 players stand next to each other. This allows Halliburton to jump the ball with no risk at all and then force the turnover. Without question, if the Pacers win Game 7, they will point to this play as the moment they fully and truly believed they could do it. Not just because it was an exclamation point on a blowout game, but because it revealed just how easy it is for them to shut down the OKC offense because of how little the ball and players move. You combine that with excellent coaching, excellent pressure, excellent pursuit, and heady plays by everyone on the roster, and it's that mix that has gotten the Pacers to the brink of an NBA title. And if the Thunder can't take a page from the great ball movement the Pacers are getting that lead to good shots, then we'll be seeing the Larry O'Brien Trophy hoisted by the fellows from Indiana.